Greetings gamers and welcome to day 3. While I haven't thought much about gaming, I did spend a little bit of yesterday evening mildly obsessing and worrying about the frightening list of possible withdrawal symptoms that we looked at yesterday. Let's quickly review them. Anger and verbal abuse, feelings of emptiness, depression or relief, disruption of sleep pattern, fantasies and dreams about the game, the urge to go back to gaming and try to control the time played, obsessing about the game for long periods of time, rampant uncontrolled mood swings, excessive crying, fear, irritability or restlessness, sadness, loneliness or boredom, inability to find new activities or interests, lack of motivation or direction, excessive amounts of time spent sleeping, difficulty facing obligations, procrastination by using video games. To be honest, that doesn't sound like a symptom of video game withdrawal. It sounds more like a full-blown relapse into gaming. Feeling as though returning to gaming will solve problems. Physical symptoms such as nausea, allergies, colds, hemorrhoids, dry eyes, urinary incontinence and constipation, restlessness, unfulfilling and taunting dreams. Well, without wanting to trivialise a serious issue, I have to say I can't help wondering if some of the items on this list betrays a confusion in the minds of the authors between correlation and causation. After my dinner, I finished off the last of the mince pies along with a slice of Christmas cake and a dollop of whipped cream. Shortly afterwards, I felt a bit queasy. Now ordinarily, I'd have put that down to consuming too much sugar, but because of yesterday's video, I was wondering if this was nausea associated with giving up gaming. After a couple of hours of self-doubt and inner questioning, I decided I was probably fine. The queasiness was just the poor dietary choice. Now with that caveat in mind, I can say that after 48 plus hours of non-gaming, I am still withdrawal symptom free. As for the effects on other people, I don't know. I have a friend who wanted to do some quests involving raids and ordinarily we would have helped, but it was just before Christmas and we were locked out of the raids. There was a brief window of opportunity between Christmas and New Year where we could have helped, but we didn't see each other in game and our schedules just didn't overlap, so we couldn't take advantage, and now I can't game for a whole month. They will probably find a group from somewhere else or wait until February. Either way, I'm acutely aware that my decision is affecting their lives as well as mine and my family's. As for my family, well, they're being as supportive as ever. This brings me to the topic of today's video, which I call opportunity cost. We often look at the cost of gaming in terms of how much the subscription is and how much money we spend on the game and on the equipment for gaming. And when we take that into account, gaming is one of the cheapest hobbies that it's possible to have. Compared to, say, watching films, the initial outlay for a gaming console may be about 10 times higher than for a Blu-ray player, but once you have your equipment set up, you're paying around £10 to £20 for a DVD or Blu-ray disc with a film that gives you 1.5 to 2 hours entertainment, and then it sits on your shelf with you always intending but never really getting round to watching again. That's at least £5 per hour and at the most £10 per hour for your entertainment. After the initial outlay for a console, you can play a game like Overwatch for a one-off fee of around £30. You play it indefinitely, meaning the more you play, the cheaper it turns out to be. There are also plenty of free-to-play games that can be played on mobile phones that people already have. Fortnite! Of course, this is complicated by the recent trend in microtransactions and loot boxes, but gamers know where these hidden costs can be avoided. Now if we compare a gamer having invested £300 on a console and £30 on a game and plays it indefinitely, quitting gaming makes no difference financially. I actually calculated that if I went the whole year without gaming, at best I can hope to be about £100 a year better off. I could probably save more than that by switching my energy supply more regularly. A 20 a day smoker decided to quit smoking for a year. They could save a whopping £3,000. That's enough to buy a car, and depending on the car, maybe enough to tax, insure and run it too. None of these calculations, however, take into account opportunity cost. An opportunity cost is the cost associated with missed opportunities. For example, the time I've spent playing video games could have been spent doing something else, like learning a language, programming, learning a musical instrument, climbing a mountain, learning a martial art, sailing, mounting an Antarctic expedition. Okay, that facetious gene of mine is kicking in again. But imagine all the things we could be doing with our time that we've spent in a virtual world. Actually, I've done most of those things except for the Antarctic expedition, and it was hill walking, not mountain climbing. But the point is, gaming has a hidden cost that isn't just financial. Frankly, I'm not remotely concerned if my gaming habit means I'll never get round to mounting an Antarctic expedition. Besides, I don't actually like the cold. The opportunity cost associated with gaming might not be as high as non-gamers imagine it to be. We humans aren't robots, and we break down if we're productive all the time. We need downtime. That is to say, we need to spend time resting and relaxing to unwind and de-stress. De-stress, an interesting word. Personally, I'd prefer unstress, as de-stress sounds too much like distress. Then again, unstress sounds a lot like undress, which could lead to even more confusion. Some people take a glass of wine to relieve stress, but soon a glass becomes 2 glasses, and soon a couple of glasses becomes a bottle. Others smoke to relieve stress, and eventually though, the opportunity costs associated with smoking and drinking may initially be much lower than the opportunity costs associated with gaming, but smoking and drinking alcohol come with their own serious health concerns. And what is the opportunity cost of a premature death? Others turn to comfort food to relieve stress, but I don't need to dwell on where that road leads. I'm reminded of a particularly amusing phone call I got from a friend who loves to phone me when he's feeling particularly down. After spending half an hour or so complaining about how unhappy he was with his life, he decided to castigate me for the time I spent playing World of Warcraft, the only game he knows I play, wrongly assuming that I had spent so long in a virtual world that I no longer knew the real world existed, berating me like I was a child, that there was a big wide world out there. I tried hard not to laugh and gently reminded him that he'd just spent the last half hour complaining about that very same big wide world. Needless to say, it didn't go down too well. But point very well made, I think, and one of these days I might even get round to apologising for taking far too much pleasure in delivering that blow. But he really set himself up and left himself wide open for it. It's not that gamers don't know there's a big wild world out there. It's just that the virtual worlds in game are so much better. If gaming is taking up time that would otherwise be dedicated to frivolous and unprofitable pursuits designed to relieve stress and recharge our inner batteries, then it's just harmless entertainment. When gaming becomes a problem is when the opportunity cost of gaming prevents us doing really important things, like investing time into the advancement of our career, or attending to our personal health and hygiene, maintaining the relationships we put so much effort into forming. This is where friends, family members and doctors start to become concerned. In June 2018, the World Health Organization included gaming disorder in the list of mental health problems called ICD-11, which stands for the 11th revision of the International Classification of Disease. gaming disorder is defined as a pattern of gaming behaviour, digital gaming or video gaming, characterised by impaired control over gaming, increased priority given to gaming over other activities to the extent that gaming takes precedence over other interests and daily activities, and continuation or escalation of gaming despite the occurrence of negative consequences. For gaming disorder to be diagnosed, the behaviour pattern must be of sufficient severity to result in significant impairment in personal, family, social, educational, occupational or other important areas of functioning, and would normally have been evident for at least 12 months. In the same way that drinking a glass of wine occasionally to relieve stress can all too easily turn into full-blown alcoholism, so too gaming can turn from blasting a few pixels to work out pent-up aggression after a hard day, to hiding from real-life problems in a virtual world. The journey from financially secure, productive, well-adjusted member of society with lofty goals and high expectations, to hiding bills in the bottom of a drawer after becoming unemployed just because some coping mechanism for stress becomes a means of escape from reality, is frighteningly well documented and not limited to just gaming or alcohol. In the next video, I'd like to look more closely at how harmless methods for coping with stress can become a dark prison of addiction. Meanwhile, if you feel that you might have a problem with excessive gaming and are worried you might be developing an addiction, why not follow along or try out this simple test of going game-free for a month? Remember, it can be any month, you don't have to start on the 1st. Why not post a comment and let me know how you're doing, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. But as for me, big fat hairy 48 plus hours and counting non-gamer, I look forward to seeing you in another video.